Hello, and welcome to the Live Blissed Out podcast, helping demystify decision making so you can get unstuck and take action. I'm your host, Marissa Houston, bringing you another blissful episode. Hi, action takers. This is episode 5 of the Live Blissed Out podcast. Thanks for joining me. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Our topic for this episode is storytelling through video, and my guest is Don Cardona. Don is a 26-year network sports broadcast TV veteran as a live event and studio producer with ESPN, and most recently as a senior producer with NBC Sports, covering events such as the World Series, Rio Olympic Games, the Boston Marathon, and other high-profile sporting events. He has made a living out of humanizing professional and elite athletes and keeping viewers tuned into sports broadcasts through storytelling. Don won Best Documentary in the world's largest short film competition, My Road Reel, for his film Punishment, a film about bull riding school. He is now owner and executive producer of Cardona Creative, an agency that helps business owners connect with their clients with storytelling, capturing their essence, and strategizing it all with video. To schedule your complimentary strategy session and for more information, visit cardonacreative.com. Hi, Don. Great to have you on my show today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you about storytelling and video. What have you identified is the need for video, particularly in the business world today?
Well, if you look at everything, video is the way everything is going. Facebook has invested so many millions of dollars into it, as has YouTube. And there's just such a huge market for showing people what it is you do, especially for business. You know, with the 2008 crash, as I've discovered since I started my business, is people don't trust anybody anymore. And they want to build relationships. And so the best way to do that, if you can't be everywhere in one place as a business owner, is to create videos that show how you do business and why you do business and walk them through what it could be like working with your company. So it's not just about telling people anymore. And that's what a lot of traditional video has done.
If an audience is able to see and feel and interact with a business, as opposed to just hear why they're so special and being told that information, then they can connect with the business in a deeper way.
Correct. I mean, if you look at any kind of commercial on TV, especially when you get to the Super Bowl level, it's more about branding. It's about making sure that your company is still in the spotlight, right? And that's why Super Bowl commercials fetch so much money, is because they know it's a huge audience. On the local level, TV commercials at one point were about enticing people into the store. And those are still effective, but the cost for those is traditionally astronomical for smaller businesses and even mid-sized businesses, depending. So they had to be very smart in how they did it. Plus, it's a limited run. With video these days and the ubiquitousness of it, where everyone can do it, there's really no reason a business shouldn't be doing video. It's just a matter of how they do it.
You and I have talked about the fact that one of the things that makes your service so unique is that you really focus on storytelling. Why do you feel storytelling is so powerful?
Because it involves emotion. When you're telling somebody something and why they should believe you or why they should do business with you, you're telling them. But if you can show them through a story and make them feel like they have to do business with you, it becomes that much more effective, because you're not just using the visual sense, you're using the emotional sense. You're not just using the audible sense either. You're connecting all of those things. And stories have traditionally been a means of creating things with people so that they remember. And that's the key, is remembering what you do and how you do it. And if you think about it, stories have been told even before the written word, or even before the visual, or even before radio. So stories have been passed down through generations, and there's a reason that they are effective. And that's capturing people's imaginations and making them see and feel and hear what it is that is important for anyone who watches a story. I mean, if you look at any of the Disney animated films, a lot of times they're two-dimensional characters, but what keeps you is that story.
it helps us relate. And that relatability is very powerful because then we can see ourselves in that. We're bombarded with information every day. And a lot of times when you turn on the TV, especially late at night, you'll see an infomercial. And infomercials are very interesting concepts in video because they talk about a problem and how they're able to solve that problem. How does that differentiate from storytelling with the kinds of videos that you create for your clients?
Well, it's hard to really draw a parallel or even an opposite view of an infomercial. An infomercial is set out to do pretty much one thing, and that's convince you by showing what the product is and how it works, the customer imagining having that as well. So those are very effective, and those have a very specific purpose, in my opinion. With storytelling with the business, it's not necessarily on one product. And I think that that's what a lot of the infomercials tend to be, is one product, right? They want to sell you knives that cut through steel. But in terms of what a business offers, for instance, any small business, there's a lot of commoditized businesses. So what makes this business A different than this business B, and why should you do business? And that's where storytelling can come a little bit better into the idea of attracting customers. So storytelling for what I create is trying to make sure that we're attracting the right customers. And the way I do it is not just with the storytelling, but there's a strategy behind it, because if you don't have a strategy in place, you can put something out there that'll attract the people that you don't want or the customers that you really don't need. And with the strategy and storytelling, there's a focus, and we're trying to figure out what it is that is really good about the company that is offering these services, and how can we make sure that people understand and know, so that they're not guessing and they don't have to really go searching for a lot of different types of services. They can focus on really what it is that that company's doing.
Storytelling really encompasses the brand and the message of the brand, as opposed to an infomercial, which generally talks about a particular product and a solution to a problem that the viewer might see.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. If you look at infomercials, it's been a little while since I've looked at one, but infomercials have a product in mind, and they want to show you how good that product can be for you. And that is perfectly fine. And they're very effective. In fact, many years ago, I did buy a lot of stuff just by watching an infomercial. In terms of what a business is offering, though, there could be so much more. It could be a service-based industry. So how do you do an infomercial for somebody who's offering coaching services or health services or things that require personal interaction? And so that's where I believe storytelling can have more effect, is if you can show somebody and walk them through your process on how you do business and make them imagine what it would be like working for you. That is more powerful than you telling them, you need to have my services because I have a lot of credentials and I know what I'm doing. If you can show how and why that's affected you and how you do business, it becomes a little more powerful in capturing that customer's imagination.
I talk to a lot of business owners who say, my goodness, I feel like I'm having to say the same thing over and over. And your stories and your videos will enable them a medium to share with everyone once and for all, that's consistent and has a very powerful message, so that they don't feel like they have to explain things a million times to different people.
I 100% agree with you. Unfortunately, I think that won't ever change, because you still have to get out there and you're still going to have to deal with people on a one-to-one basis and build those relationships. But yeah, if it's somebody that you haven't really met before, or if somebody is seeking out your services, it's an easy way to capture that. What I try and do is I analyze the business that I'm working with to see what's working for them, to understand that if they are successful in one part of their business, let's capture that so people can see that. We're duplicating what they're doing so they don't necessarily have to work as hard. And with video too, and really, in fact, anything social media these days, it's not about doing business 9 to 5 anymore. You don't have to continually meet with people in their place of business. I mean, I can wake up in the morning, roll over, grab my phone and watch a video if I wanted to before I go to bed at night. If I'm looking for a service, let's say it's buying a new car, that's a product that I want to do some research on. So I will look up that model of car and just see if there's any reviews on it, or if there's any kind of features that that car has. I can do that on my own time. I could do it in the middle of the night. So it's really about making available who your business is and how you can help that customer, because they're going to access it at any time of the day.
I think it also provides us an opportunity to give people a closer look because let's be honest. I mean, every time we meet somebody or we're interested in a product or want more information, the first thing we do is we visit a website and we always look for a video because we want to get better insights. So if you're buying software, for example, a demo showing you exactly what the features are of the software and how it works is critical for you to really understand if it even is something you would consider or if it meets your needs to begin with. So I think having a video, it just gives you a better insight into what that brand or offering is all about so that then the prospective client will be able to look at it and say, I like what I'm hearing. So now they're ready to take it to the next step. So it's kind of putting your foot in the door in a way that is a little more personal and giving them a better glimpse of what to expect.
That's exactly right. It's letting the customer be in control, really, is what it is. But if you have a brick and mortar building, for instance, and you're only open 9 to 5, they can't get in there during those hours. What are they going to do? The best way is to go to your website and research it. But if all you have is text and pictures, it doesn't give the complete story. Video can capture a lot of different things that we tend to do in our daily lives, and that is interact. Not necessarily in a two-way interaction, but people can see what it is that you offer and what makes you different, how you do it, things of that nature.
What are the main elements to consider when we're telling stories?
Well, the first thing that you have to think of is storytelling can be done in many different ways. For instance, there's documentary style storytelling. There is dramatic type of storytelling. There's a lot of different ways that can be attacked. When I recommend storytelling for business, it's about how can we best connect the company that I'm working with to the customers so that they really understand what it is that the company is offering. So for instance, everybody needs to know who they're working with. But not only that, it's what you do, it's how you do it. In other words, what makes you distinct or different from other companies. But more importantly, it's the why. Like, why are you doing business? Because that can connect people on so many different levels that it becomes more powerful in terms of really relating to somebody. If I told you that I got into this business of creating videos for companies because I had nothing else to do, it's not going to connect so well. But if I told you that I created a video production company because I understand how video has really made an impact on the network sports level, which is where I came from, in humanizing athletes so that the viewers cared for them, that resulted in additional time spent viewing. So if we could capture a viewer on any particular sporting event, the story of an athlete who has gone through maybe a trial or has had some very good success, if you frame that story in a proper way, people are going to be more interested. And that's really the key, is storytelling, not so much in the sense of convincing people to do business with you. It's storytelling so that you capture their attention so they want to do business and not trying to force them into it.
With all the tools that we have available now in our cell phones and cameras, people are taking video like never before. I'd like our listeners to get a perspective on what are the main differences essentially between doing it yourself and hiring a professional to put your business out there.
Well, a lot of what I tell people is if you have a camera on your smartphone, which I think most everybody has, you should be doing video. Video can be very effective no matter if you hire a professional or not. Video should be done by everybody. Now, the question becomes, what kind of video are you shooting? If you're shooting a video that is showcasing your business, you probably want somebody from the outside coming in to advise and work with you, because we often see ourselves different than everybody else. It's no different when I look in the mirror and I go out and I hear my voice and I can't stand it. But people don't recognize that. They don't see that for what it is. They see you for who you are. We see ourselves differently. And it's no different with a business, because you might know what you offer. You might know how you do things differently. But if somebody comes in and can give you a different perspective on what your customers might be looking for, that helps to better tell that story. Going back to shooting it yourself, there are certain moments that you should be using your own cell phone video to capture things that might be of interest to people. For instance, if you run a manufacturing facility, or let's say it's a bakery, and you make a really, really cool cake design, why not turn that camera on, capture it, and show people what you just created and post it on social media or on your website to show them, hey, these are the cool things that we do. But when it comes to getting in more deep and showing the why and explaining, maybe what makes you different, that's where I would recommend a professional come in and do things. And when it comes to testimonial type things too, those can be a little tricky because a good testimonial can really attract more customers, but a average or a bad testimonial might have people scratching their heads wondering, why did you have that person talk for you? Because there's an art behind a testimonial in asking the right questions as well. It's not just asking them, how is it working with my company? Well, this company did this for me. Great. But if you have that testimonial, walk them through the process of what it was like working with you, the care that they provided you, the services they were able to give you, and then maybe the results, that can change the whole dynamic of that. So there's a lot of different ways to use video. It's just a matter of maybe consulting with somebody to figure out if you're doing it the right way. Because as much as I hate to say this, a bad business card may not get you business and it might scare people away. And there's no difference in a video product. If you don't take the time to at least do it on your own and try and do it professionally or a little on the higher quality, it might scare people away.
You're saying then that they can complement each other, that focusing on having a professional video made is just another enhancement that you can provide, but you can still go ahead and use these resources that you have to engage people in a different platform, like just on the go videos that you can post on social media, while still incorporating a professional video on your website and other avenues.
That's correct. It's kind of a delicate balance because they do complement each other. For instance, what I create a lot for my clients is what's called a video business card. And in under 3 minutes, it really encapsulates everything that we've been discussing: who you are, why you do it, how you do it, what makes you different. But then an important part of that is a call to action, because people need to be told what to do. Otherwise, they're going to think, oh, that was a nice video. But if you call them to action, it helps them to maybe think, maybe I should do that. It depends on the person. If you're like me, I have to take time researching before I purchase anything. It does enhance things. So I like to think of the video business card as a defensive form of marketing. If people are looking for your services and they go to your website and they find a video, the statistics show that people will watch the video. And if they like what they see, they will delve deeper into the website so they can find out more. That can be used as a defense, right? So when someone goes to your website, you're putting that up as a defense. So they watch it. If they like what they see, then hopefully they'll do business with you. But you can also use it offensively. And offensively, by that, I mean a business card is offensive. A flyer is offensive marketing. Going to networking groups is offensive. You're getting out there and you're trying to get people interested in what you have to offer. So once they have that and they're interested and they need your services, they go to your website, it becomes defensive, so you capture them. So yeah, they do complement each other. And the idea is to keep them captivated and at least put a memorable experience on what it could be like working with.
It's another tool to help businesses stand out, because just in the businesses that I come across regularly, they don't have a video business card. It's not something that you see very often. And it's basically a differentiator between you and another business that might be offering the same services.
And that is a very good point as well, because video gives, I think, any business owner an advantage on what it is they offer. Because especially if you're in a commoditized business, there are so many different people that offer things. Why would they want to do business with you? And unless you know them or they're a referral of yours, it's going to be kind of an uphill battle in many respects. I'm not saying in all respects, but in many ways, they would just look at you as just another company. So for instance, if you're a real estate agent and somebody moves into town, they don't know anybody, what are they going to do? They're going to go to their website or maybe go to a referral. But if they don't know anybody, they want to buy a house, they're going to go looking online. And if there's a video that shows what they are as a person and what they're like to work with, the chances of that person engaging with that real estate agent goes up.
If we just think of ourselves, right? In, let's say you were moving into a new town and you got a referral, even from somebody that you trust, and they tell you, call this person. The first thing you're going to do is research that person anyway, because even though that person is maybe wonderful and trustworthy and have all the experience in the world, there's also the element of, is this the right person for me? I might not jive with them. I mean, I might not have the same personality type, or I just may not connect the way I expect to, because when you're dealing with any sort of service, for example, there's a partnership that takes place and there's a certain level of trust that you have to build. And so you have to feel comfortable with that person. And so obviously, the first thing we would all do is look into that person, perhaps look in their LinkedIn, or go to their website and try to get more details about who they are. But essentially, most of the time, all I ever run across is a picture and some words. And so having a video where they're talking to you and just kind of engaging with you in a more personal level, I think would certainly elevate them above everyone else.
And I couldn't have said it any better myself. And the thing is too, and this is what I want to make clear, is it's not a magic bullet. Video is just another tool that you can use. And I would tend to say it's probably the most powerful tool because it involves not just the verbal and the visual, but the emotional aspect as well. So if you can connect on a personal level without being there in person, then it's doubly helpful. And it helps in the sales process. It cuts down that time for somebody if they're interested in doing business with you. A lot of times I recommend the clients that are working with me that once we create this video business card, I have a whole strategy on helping them to implement it in the proper way. If it's somebody who does a lot of sales, I will recommend to my sales clients that before they meet with a client, they send out a video and tell them to watch it so they can understand the process of the company. So then when they actually sit in the meeting, they don't have to spend as much time explaining the business. And that's where the consistency comes in, as you mentioned earlier. It solidifies that message so that if it's a larger sales staff, it could get everyone on the same page so everyone has the same message.
I think that video is, like you said, another medium that really adds an element of professionalism and allows the prospect basically to get more insight in a way that they wouldn't be able to through other mediums, like just reading information or seeing a picture.
That's correct. It goes in with the branding and how you're putting things out there. But again, if you think in terms of offensive and defensive marketing, it kind of paints the picture and makes video make a little more sense. Not going to resolve all the marketing problems, but it is a very powerful tool that should be used, especially with everything going video these days. I mean, the statistics are way too many for me to mention here, but the statistics are amazing. And one of my favorites that I'll share is 75% of executives will watch a video before buying a product. And of those 75%, 65% will actually go further down the investigation and perhaps make a purchase. So it's very powerful, not just with business to consumer, but with business to business.
And I believe it because it's exactly what I do. And I would imagine that as a consumer, many other people listening here are probably thinking the same thing. This podcast is really about turning intention into action. And so the listeners right now that are out there going, I really need video for my business. I really want to pursue this. I've been planning to do this for a long time, but I've never gotten to it. What are some of the elements that they should be looking for when they hire a professional to help them put their best foot forward for their company?
That's a great question because there's a lot of really good videographers out there who may not understand marketing. There's a lot of videographers out there that understand marketing but may not be able to tell the story. So it's a really kind of a challenging aspect to finding somebody who can do something professional. So if you're looking for somebody who's going to shoot something, make sure that they do understand a little bit about your business and try and find out really what's making the business work. If there's a videographer or video production company that wants to do business with you, they should be asking you questions about your business and they should be advising you on what the best strategy could be. Oftentimes, a lot of these companies will contract with a company and then ask, what do you think we should do to the business owners? Now, I think there's a combination that needs to happen. It needs to be a partnership because I don't have all the answers. That company knows their business much better than I do, but I like to come in and ask questions because discovery is the most important part on how can we make this work the best? How can we make it so it just doesn't sit on your website? How can we get it out there and make it run and have legs for you?
So, what is a quick tip that you could perhaps provide to our listeners that will help them get started? There might be people out there who have been considering video in any format. There are people that are scared of even doing a video or even getting their phones out and recording themselves in some way. Is there kind of a quick thing that they can start doing right now that will help them get more exposure and connect with their prospects in a deeper way?
There are a couple things I can provide. One is most people are in their heads about being on camera or hearing their voice or looking at themselves in a way they're not used to seeing. And so my recommendation for that is just understand and accept that you are who you are, and that was what makes you unique. We all look at ourselves differently. In fact, I'm the same way. I created my own video business card that's on my website, and I'm very insecure about the way I look and sound in it. However, I do understand that people are looking at me as they see me, not as I see myself. So one recommendation would be to try and get over what you look like and just accept that who you are. Now, there are things that we can do to change by lighting and things of that nature. So the first step is don't worry about what you look like or sound like, because nobody hears you the same way you do. The second thing is, if you're going to put yourself on camera and you want to do it yourself, make sure that you do your camera work steady. And again, there's a situation for every kind of video out there. But if you're trying to make yourself feel, a little more professional, I recommend people shooting with their camera phones, at least in horizontal mode, because horizontal is what 16:9 televisions are in general. Computer screens show video in horizontal 16:9. So it'll make you feel a little more professional, so you don't have those black bars on either side. If you're doing it for social media, it's okay to do it that way, but typically professionalism feels better in horizontal. And then wherever you are with a light source, you want to make sure that the lighting is above you slightly and in front of you. If you shoot with your back towards the light, you're going to get a silhouette and nobody's going to see it. And it feels like the old America's Funniest Videos type of videos.
Right? You wouldn't even see their face, I would imagine.
That's correct. And so those are a couple of quick tips. Audio gets a little more tricky because not everybody has a great microphone on their camera. If you do want to make a little bit of investment, they do sell microphones that attach to your phone, but it is a little more effort. So try and record in an environment that you're going to be heard. A lot of smartphones have microphones in front of the camera and facing you, and at the bottom by the home button. So it's just a matter of making sure that you're aware of where that microphone is, so when you use it, you're capturing the audio in the best possible way.
With the technology that we have with our phones now, it's practice, right? I mean, every phone is different, and not to be afraid basically to go out there and start filming and trying new things and figuring out where the best sources are and going, oh, well, that one turned out really well, that one not so much, and then make adjustments accordingly. But using the tips that you just shared with our listeners and putting that into play, I think they're going to find that it's not as difficult as it seems, and it's not as daunting as they think it is.
That's right. And with anything, everything takes practice. You can't expect to go shoot a Emmy award-winning video for your company with just pulling your phone out of your pocket and trying it for the first time. And I think everybody realizes that. It's just a matter of trying things. You don't even have to post it, but try things. Try putting yourself on camera. Try generally putting together some kind of idea of what you want to say and then practicing it a couple of times. You don't have to memorize it. No one's looking for perfection, but they want to know that you're authentic. They want to know that what you have to offer is important. So Simon Sinek, he's the author of Start With Why, and he's a New York Times bestselling author. He's got a TED Talk. If you haven't seen it, look him up, Simon Sinek, Sinek. He talks about your why. And one of the things he says is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that is the most important thing, because especially in a commodity-driven business where people have tons of options, why are they going to do business with you? You're selling the same product, but they want to know you. They want to get to know you in a more personal way.
The expectations in today's world are very different from the way they were 20 years ago, right? We didn't have all of this available to us. And so just getting your name on a directory somewhere and hoping somebody picks up the phone and calls you is really how things were done back then. But today, you're absolutely right. I think the connection and feeling like there's a purpose and that they want to engage in a deeper level, that's kind of an expectation anymore. And I think that that's why I guess video is so powerful.
That's right. And, if I can just give you one quick tidbit on a company that I previously worked with. After I gave a video presentation to a group that I was part of, I had the gentleman approach me and tell me that we needed to talk because people didn't know they existed. And if they did know they existed, they didn't know what they did. And if they did know what they did, there was a very negative perception about what they did. And I almost looked at him and said, why are you in business? Because those are three huge hurdles to overcome if you're a business owner. Well, after talking with him, I realized how valuable his service is for companies that have experienced property damage via tragedies, how important their company is in terms of losing property. And after talking with him more and getting into the deep dive session that I go through to find out really why they're in business, we found that the thing that they had to offer was super valuable that people needed to know. And so the way we approached that particular business with a video business card was to let people know, number one, they exist, but number two, that they're in an industry that you should know or at least be prepared. And it is one of those companies that you hope you never need, but if you do, they're going to be there for you. And then showing that they cared about their clients. They're not just in it for the money. And the negative perceptions in the industry, much like what attorneys have to experience, is they have to fight through, especially if they're doing things for noble causes. And so that's what we built for them to help tackle all of those challenges.
What is one piece of advice that you can share that you wish most people out there knew about to avoid any potential mistakes when it comes to creating video for their business?
I think the biggest thing is letting people know it's okay to not know how to do video for themselves. And there's a lot of different resources online. If you don't know how to do things, it's very dangerous to try and pretend or try and do it on your own. It's okay to ask. You don't have to use a professional, but you should understand how powerful using video is. So I think the best piece of advice is don't go it alone. Ask somebody who might have some kind of marketing experience. At least find out what you do and try and get those basic fundamentals of what it is that you do on the table. But then go one step further and find out really, why are you doing it? Why are you in business selling insurance? Because there are a lot of people that are in the same industry. So what's going to make you different? But why? Like, are you doing insurance because it's something to sell, or are you doing life insurance because you've had experience with a family member who didn't have life insurance, and when they passed away, there was legal battles with who got the money or how you were going to pay for bills after they passed? Things of that nature. So really look at the why on what it is that you're doing so that you can try and connect with your clients and customers in a more personal way.
Thank you so much, Don. This has been really informational, and I hope that our listeners were able to get motivated and inspired and feel like it's not as intimidating as they might have thought. And perhaps those people on the fence that want to do video will now feel that they're empowered a little bit more and have better insight and awareness so that they can pursue it. Because as you mentioned, it's kind of an essential nowadays in business. And I think that they're going to find that it's not only rewarding and will help them also stand out from anybody else in the same area of offerings.
Yeah, no, I thank you for having me. Just having gotten to know you over the last couple of weeks, it's been really rewarding for me, and you've got great energy, and that's what I feed off of.
Same here, Don. It's been such a pleasure to have you, and I'm grateful that you are part of the show. And thanks again for sharing all your insights and knowledge with us.
Thank you very much, Marissa.
That's all for this episode of Live Blissed Out. Thanks for listening, and thank you to Don Cardona for joining me today and for sharing tips on storytelling through video. Join us again next week for another informative and motivational show. Please visit liveblисsedout.com for access to all our podcasts and resources, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you find value in our show, please leave an honest review either on the website or on Apple Podcast. Plus, if you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/LBO podcast. It's a great place to engage. So long for now, and remember to keep moving forward.